Unfortunately, on a Wednesday, actually. Unfortunately, if you guys have kept up on my social media feed, had some reasons as to why I couldn't be here yesterday, but I'm glad to be here today going over one of the wackiest, craziest, and for me, one of the most fun ARCA races I've watched in quite a long time, with a surprise winner. Not really a surprise winner, but in terms of the way the race was going, I would say definitely a surprise winner. Solid field, lots of storylines, rookies struggling, even the top contenders were struggling, lots of great action. Overall, I really feel like this was one of the best ARCA races we've had in a long time, and I'm glad to talk about it here with you guys live on the channel. We just hit 357 subs. Cannot thank you guys enough for that. We will be doing a giveaway once we hit 400. I will be going over that at the end of the show. So if you guys will stay with me to the end of the show, you guys will find out what the giveaway will be at 400, and we will also be doing one at 500. I really want to reward you guys with the support you guys have been giving me, and I just also have a lot of fun stuff to give away. So I want to reward you guys. Like I said, you can keep liking and subscribing because I want to get to 400. Follow me on social media at Start and Park Car. You guys know the drill. All the fun Start and Park updates, all the fun, Start and Park news. Follow my friends at the Racing Experts. Media Relations joined them a couple weeks ago. Can't thank them enough. So go follow the Racing Experts. Their website's down in the link in the description. One of the best news sites out there. So go give them a check out as well. And let's get right into it. So we had Mid-Ohio. Now, I previewed this race last week as one of the races to watch out for. We had a way bigger field than last year. And that's one thing that was really happy to see, because last year we had a really I would say, downright disappointing race. We only had 17 show up, and by lap 16, we already were down to just 11 cars. And 11 cars on a 2+ mile road course, it was pretty boring. The cars were pretty spread out. Not much was happening. Ty Gibbs dominated, and, like I said, not a lot happened. It wasn't a great look for ARCA in its very first race at Mid-Ohio. But when I saw the entry list this year with this many contenders that could possibly win this race, I got excited immediately. And the lack of starting parks in the race helped even more. So, yeah, I just got really excited for this race. The entry list, we saw some returning names, new faces, some older guys at the back of the field who decided to keep running. Just a lot of great storylines, so more importantly, like we had Stanton Barrett returning for the second year in a row with Fast Track, 5 truck drivers coming over to get some extra experience, Quarterman, Dale Quarterly from the West Series coming over to run, Rita Thomason, Amber Balkin, and Tony all in the same race. The 3 ladies back again. Like I said, lots and lots of good storylines. Ed Bull was back, so like I said, getting into practice and qualifying. These guys were fortunate enough to practice and qualify before the rain came. So yeah, this was not held in the rain. All 25 drivers took a lap. John Hunter Nemechek was obviously fastest. He was going to be the car to beat. He beat Sammy Smith, who's also a very accomplished road racer in the Trans Am circuit, by only about a 10th. So I think it was safe to say that the 55 and the 18, and I kind of predicted that last week. I kind of predicted that, John Hunter and Sammy Smith would probably be the 2 cars to beat going into that race, with maybe Nick Sanchez, maybe a Chris Wright, Taylor Gray getting involved, but we wouldn't know for sure. So Sanchez, I thought the Rev cars were going to struggle this weekend, but I was happy to see that my philosophy was wrong. Both cars were in the top 5 in practice qualifying. Some surprises, the 20, arguably the best car all season so far, the Jesse Love 20 machine, all the way down in 9th. And Daniel Dye, points championship contender, outside the top 10. Yeah, like I said, all 25 cars took a lap. Like I said, the 48, the 27, the 12 were all going to be starting parks in this race. Yeah, John Hunter Nemechek was on the pole. Sammy Smith was second. Nick Sanchez was third. Parker Chase was fourth. And Raja Karuth fifth. Some of the other full-timers, the ladies, they struggled. Amber Balkin was down in 18th. Tony Breidinger was 15th. And Rita Thomason was all the way down in 23rd. So heading into the race, during, I believe it was truck qualifying, the rain showed up. And, well, I felt bad for a lot of these teams because, a lot of these ARCA teams, they really can't afford rain tires. So as the rain kept coming and coming and coming, I was getting worried that maybe some of these teams would be forced to withdraw because they don't have the sponsorship or just the flat out money to buy a set of rain tires. And that's actually what did happen. The 27 of Con Nicolopolis was forced to withdraw from the race due to not having rain tires. And the 21 of Jack Wood was forced to withdraw as well due to an engine failure suffered after practice qualifying, I mean. I was worried for Brad. I didn't think Brad had a set of rain tires. If anyone was there at Mid-Ohio, I don't know how Brad got a set of rain tires. I know he didn't buy them, but I wonder if maybe ARCA just let him use a set to run a couple laps. But either way, props to as many teams as possible that were able to get their hands on these rain tires, needed to make the race, and really made an attempt to get out there. So we got the race started. A couple of cars initially did not take the green flag. It was really chaotic at the back of the field. While you guys were probably watching the front of the field, I was watching the back of the field. For some reason, the 30 of Amber Balkan just didn't go on the start. I was watching the way back part of the start, and she just braked. The 10 of Arnie Koch almost ran into her, and it's like 3 other people almost ran into her. It was just chaotic on the start, and we all knew it was. I mean, these guys had not even practiced or qualified, never ran in the rain. None of these guys have probably ever seen the rain before. And now they're supposed to go out there, run as hard as they can on stuff they've never been on. So, yeah, I will say, first off, before we get into more of the review, props to everyone who attempted this whole race. No practice, really no experience in the rain. And I will say everyone honestly did a great job. We had a couple of offs. We had a couple of off tracks, but we had no real crashes, I would say. I think everyone really did a great job in the rain, keeping the cars on the track and not having a lot of cautions due to off-track excursions. So I'll give that to a lot of these people in the field. But yeah, the 0-3 of Rita Thomason initially did not start the race. The 3 of Casey Carden, he had arguably the weirdest start of the race. Coming to the green flag, the caution came out immediately. The 3 was stuck in one of the last turns, unfortunately, and it was just stuck. It was like the front brakes were locked up. The back tires were spinning, but he wasn't moving. Now, that car itself is called Nightmare, so it's not shocked that it might have had some issues, but I felt bad for Casey Carden because he actually showed some okay speed in practice. And based off of what happened in the race, could have easily gotten a top 15 finish today, then in that race. So that was unfortunate for the club team because they've just had a lot of issues lately, unfortunately, over that organization, which I hate because Alex is a good friend of mine. But the race continued back on after running a couple laps. Brad, he ran the 3 laps under caution, and then once they came back to green, he pulled off. Again, not really sure where he got his tires. I know we know the tire guys pretty good at ARCA. It wouldn't shock me if maybe a team lended Brad a set to use in the rain. Because after all, I mean, 3 caution laps in the rain, I would imagine that's 0 to little wear, if at all, on those tires. There's no way. I mean, a little wear, yes, but 0 to little wear probably was on those tires that came off the 48. But I would like to know, was it Brad who got the tires, or if someone who was there, did they lend Brad a set? I'm quite curious about that, honestly. Because I know ARCA said nobody trying to go out there on dry tires. That's why the 27 didn't run. So they got back going again. Again, John Hunter, Nemechek, just smoking the field. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. He is just smoking the field. 10-second lead, 15-second lead, 20-second lead, 25-second lead. The 55 is absolutely just going hammer. I mean, I can't say it enough. If you guys watched the race, you saw that 55 is just flying. Meanwhile, everybody else is struggling. The 15 of Parker Chase went off track a couple of times. The 18 got bumped together. The 17 got bumped with each other. while the leader was going away, second through about sixth were just beating the crap out of each other, trading spots lap after lap. By this point, 5 laps in, we'll go over other starting parks. The 0-1 of D.L. Wilson, he pulled off. And the 12 of Tony Cosentino was our other starting park. They had also pulled off after 5 and 8 laps. Those were the only starting parks of the race. Unfortunately, by lap 10, we were already down to 19 cars. But luckily, this race showed that even with only 19 cars still on the track, we could still put on a heck of a show. And boy, did they. While John Hunter Nemechek was still dominating, Amber Balkin proceeded to spin not once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times during the race. I felt bad for her. By the time she spun for the 4th or 5th time, I felt so bad for her. And it's like she didn't even hit the wall at any point during the race. She just kept spinning out. And every time she would try to get back on the track, she would do more damage to the car. Like, boy, I felt bad for her. I mean, she was trying as hard as she could. She had never raced in the rain before, so you actually got to cover, give her some slack, which I obviously will. I'll give her some slack, but poor Amber Balkin had a really rough race. She spun so many times during that initial stint. That the commentators will get confused. I do want to also give a shout out to Fox. For as much crap as Fox really got with their, broadcast this year, they showed as many spins as they could. Like, they didn't just show John Hunter Nemechek the entire time just dominating. They showed the battles. They showed the spins. They did a great job. I really feel like this was one of the best Fox broadcasts we saw all season. The commentating team, they were very good. I still feel like Jamie Little's got a little bit of improvement. Phil Parsons, he's just on fire as always. So, yeah, the race kept going there. Became clear that there were a couple of guys there on the rain tires that were just struggling, just trying to make it through the end of the race. Dr. Ed, he was caught very quickly. Rita Thomason, who started the race 3 laps down, she was caught very quickly. Props to those two as well. They had no rain experience, but, Ed was very excited about this race. He hadn't been back with the series for a long time. And I know that Ed said either way he wanted to run this whole race. So I do prop Ed. Never running in the rain, or been a long time since he run in the rain. He might have been slow, but I'm glad that Ed Bull was able to run the whole race, and for Rita until her transmission blew up. So continue on there. They were getting lapped. Other cars were getting lapped. John Hunter Nemechek, I think he had lapped all the way up to about 6th place by the time the halfway break came. Now, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but we will go backwards. Do want to give some shout-outs. The 11 of Stan Barrett, he didn't run outside almost the top 10 the entire race, other than the start. I think Stanton Barrett, that was an Andy Hillenberg car. I think if you had put Stanton Barrett in a Venturini entry for this race, I think he probably would have been a winning contender for sure. But yeah, Taylor Gray had gotten up to second at one point. Sammy Smith had gotten up to second, and he was now – it actually became clear later in the run that Sammy was actually matching the same times as John Hunter Nemechek because the rain had stopped. By about lap 6 or 7, the rain had actually stopped, but the track was wet. There was just wet spots everywhere. No, not even a think about going to slicks. But Sammy had gotten up to second, and the times had kind of stabilized. He wasn't really gaining, and Nemechek wasn't really pulling away anymore. They were just kind of staying at the same time. So if it wasn't for that mandatory caution, I do believe no matter what, Nemechek would have walked away with that victory. He had such a huge lead, nothing was going to change that, even if he had went off course, which he did. Despite Nemechek being as dominant as he was, Nemechek also had a couple of offs. He also ran into a couple of lap cars. Nemechek's race wasn't perfect. He was running as hard as he could too. So he wasn't out there for a Sunday drive. Questions in the chat. We will get to Rita in a second. We do have some news on Rita Thomason. Unfortunately, her season is over. We will go over that after the race. It is unfortunate, but we do have the news article from Club Racing. So yeah, cars were still going to lap down. The 30 continued to spin. By this point, the 7 had went a couple laps down. The 03 had went a couple laps down. They had caught the 25 of Tony, the 10 of Arnie. They were going laps down. As the 55 was going past the 35 of Van Els, Nemechek just door slammed the crap out of him. Not on purpose, obviously. It was just wet. Nemechek was trying to get by, and unfortunately, they just made contact, but I thought that was kind of funny. The Rev teammates were staying up there. Daniel Dye went flying off the course, and despite getting the car buried in the dirt, it's almost as if the water actually helped him get out because it made the gravel rougher and may have actually been easier to get out than if it was dry. So that saved us a long caution. And then it was noticeable on the broadcast for the people who watched it, within about 3 or 4 laps of that halfway break, the track really was noticeably starting to dry up. A dry line was forming, and lap by lap, it kept drying up more and more. Maybe not safe enough for slicks just yet, but it was drying up. So that was definitely going to come into play by the time of that halfway caution. Who was going to go to slicks? Was anyone going to go to slicks? Were wet tires going to be the choice to go? That's what I love about road racing. And you have to be at the right road course to really make that work. And at a track like Mid-Ohio, it fits perfectly. The old surface, new tires and old tires making a difference. That's what I love about Mid-Ohio. And I really wish the Xfinity Series was there that weekend, because I put out a poll online. Just a side note, I put out a poll online that said, what did you guys enjoy more? Did you guys enjoy the Mid-Ohio races or the Atlanta races? Mid-Ohio won by a long shot. So, yeah. But, yeah, continuing on here, they were all trading spots for the lead. Unfortunately, that spin by Daniel Dye got him so far back in the field. He unfortunately went a lap down, and that was pretty much the death of his race, because his 2 championship teammates, not teammates, but teammates for the championship, were still in the lead lap. So that really affected Dye's race, and unfortunately, he just didn't recover for the rest of it. So although Nemechek was enjoying his big lead, unfortunately, lap 21 came, and the caution was out. The halfway break was here. Everybody got a chance to come down pit road and make their decisions of where they wanted to go to slicks or where they wanted to stay on the wets. And we even saw during the broadcast, it was back and forth with the 55 team. They had slicks on the wall. Then you saw the team said, let's get the wets, then slicks, then wets. And they came to the final decision of putting on the wet tires. So did the 18. The 18 had wet tires. I believe the 20 also had wet tires. I don't remember all of them. The guys I know that took the slick tires were the 2 Rev cars and Parker Chase. I think there was one more. Was it the 17? The 17 or the 20 was the other one that took slicks. But either way, I really loved this mashup. The track was starting to dry, and but it was also it was still really wet. And I loved this. I was really excited to see what was happening here. And they took the green, and sure enough, like I had said earlier, with Nemechek and Smith's times coming the same, right as they went off that restart, Nemechek's big lead, it wasn't going to happen again. Sammy Smith was right there with him. Now, although, did they check out? Did they check out from the field? Yes. But about 2 or 3 laps in, once those slicks came up to temperature, they started running lap times faster and faster and faster than the 2 leaders. And by then, Nick Sanchez, he was closing in on them almost 3 seconds a lap. He was flying on those slicks. And it became clear that Venerini, unfortunately, with the dominant car, had made the wrong decision. Had the race went green, Nick Sanchez would have walked away with it, no problem. But that didn't happen, so we'll continue. So the 2 traded the lead. An amazing battle between Sammy Smith and John Hunter Nemechek, until Nemechek moved him. Just an amazing battle, back and forth, trading the lead. The best out of ARCA. It's just what I keep saying, man. We just need a couple more competitive cars. You saw the battle they put on. Phenomenal. Great racing. Then, unfortunately, coming in, I believe it was turn 5 or turn 6, Nemechek got into the 18. The 18 of Smith went sliding. The 18 of Smith actually took that opportunity after he had spun to come down pit road and actually go from wet tires to slicks, which I don't believe was a penalty. Unfortunately, did get a penalty for speeding on pit road. So, although they were on slicks, they were so far back, there was no way they were going to catch anyone. By this point, the 55 had actually started to go back down the order as the 15 was starting to catch him, and the 6 was also starting to catch him, and the 17 as well. They were really starting to even out, and the 2 was just flying away. Until, you guessed it, the caution came out. The 91 of Colby Howard was stopped in turn 4. And I just want to say also, what a rough race for Bill McNally Racing. Oh, my God. The 21 blew up in practice. The 99 had a brake failure, and the 91 had a crash. All 3 McNally entries didn't even start and finish the race, and none of them inside the top 15. A very miserable weekend for Bill McNally Racing, which overall, from their ARCA West program to their main ARCA program, have had, I would call, a disappointing season. The switch to Chevrolet may have done well on the truck side, but on the ARCA side has not given them the success that they're used to. And chasing win number 100 may be a lot harder than we actually thought it was going to be. So that gave everyone the chance to close back up. Sammy Smith, there was going to be no penalty for him changing to slick tires. He was now back in the game, and he was much faster than Nick Sanchez. Everyone came down pit road. Of course, the teams who were allowed who were on slicks, not slicks, wets, to go to slicks. That was a rule. You could not, however, go from slicks to a fresh set of slicks. Unfortunately, the Rev teammates found that out the hard way. Both Nick Sanchez and Raja Carruth put on fresh slick tires and were received not 1, but a 2-lap penalty each. And ouch, man, that's rough. But why didn't the others get penalized? They were on the wets, and you can go from wets to slicks. So that meant, the 20, he was back in it. The 55 was back in it. But for Rev, an easy day with both cars in the top 5 now resulted in both cars may not even finishing in the top 10. And keep in mind, while this is happening, Daniel Dye is still a lap down. All 3 championship contenders not having a great day. Even after the day's over, Carruth actually extended his points lead. So they come back from the restart. We find out that a couple of cars had stayed out. The 42 of Chris Wright had stayed out on the track. If you guys could help me in the chat, I don't remember off the top of my head. Man, I wish I could remember off the top of my head. It was the 42, the 15, and the 18 that stayed out, I think it was, on the slicks, and everybody else behind him pitted for slicks. And man, we had 4 laps to go, 4 or 5 laps to go, and it was going to be a banger, dude. I knew it was. And they went out leading, and all of a sudden, the 42 of Chris Wright was checking out, and I'm like, let's go, man. Like, I'm not the biggest supporter of Chris Wright, but I love Bruce Cook Racing. I got a lot of friends who work for Bruce Cook, and I wanted to see them get the win. But the 15 of Taylor Gray, he was right there, man. Taylor Gray was right there on his bumper. And although Chris Wright led a lap, then Parker Chase got by him. He led a lap, but Chris was able to get back by. Unfortunately, it was just for 1 more lap. While all this was going on, the 2 of Nick Sanchez proceeded to get turned. I believe the 20 got turned somewhere. And then the 55 of Nemechek got turned. Teammates were just crashing into each other. Absolutely just teammate just galore. I mean, I think the 2 got spun by his teammate. I think the 20 got spun by the 55. And then they made contact in the last turn. It was just calamity. And then at the front of the pack, you had more contact, I believe, coming to 2 laps to go. The 17 of Taylor Gray got into the 42. Now, that didn't look intentional. Taylor Gray does get a lot of hate for sometimes the way he races. But I will say that I don't think that win looked intentional. I think Taylor was just diving for the middle, but the old tires, he slid just right into him. That's what it looked like. But I still felt bad because it killed the 42's momentum, and he lost a couple of positions and didn't get the finish he deserved either. So I do hate that there was contact for the lead because it just seems like an ARCA, you can't avoid the contact for the lead, and I like seeing clean winners. I do. I like seeing clean winners. We all like seeing clean winners in that retrospective. But anyways, at that point, Taylor Gray, I think he had like a 5-second lead. And I'll just say he did cruise on to a victory. It was second win of the main ARCA Series season for Taylor Gray. But meanwhile, calamity in the back of the pack. The 18 just punted the 55 out of the way. Nemechek, despite having the dominant car, leading over 30 laps, finishes fourth in the race. Taylor Gray wins. Parker Chase gets second. Sammy Smith gets third. Nemechek fourth. Jesse Love, despite spinning out, got fifth. Chris Wright, with his issues, fell back to sixth. And the great underdog story of the race, Stanton Barrett and Fast Track Racing get another top 10 finish, finishing seventh. Daniel Dye, as I mentioned earlier, guys, going a lap down, pretty much killed his race chances of a good finish. He finished eighth, and both Rev entries, they finished, were 2 laps down each. With the issues with the two of Sanchez, he didn't even get a top 10 finish. Raja Karuth was ninth, and Quarterman, Dale Quarterly, snuck in for a top 10 finish with Nick Sanchez 11th, Greg Van Alst down in 12th, Tony Breidinger 13th, Arnie Koch in 14th, Amber Balkin was 15th, and Dr. Ed Bull was the final car running in 16th. Some of the other cars that fell out, the 03 of Rita Thomason, she fell out due to a transmission issue with about 10 laps to go. And the 3 of Casey Carden, despite having those brake issues, did manage to get on track, but unfortunately would only complete a lap before going back to the garage. In total, guys, I heavily enjoyed this race. Almost every single second of it I thought was just on your toes racing was great. Another, race where we couldn't predict the winner. I mean, how many people predicted Taylor Gray would win this race? I guarantee you nobody predicted that. I believe I picked John Hunter Nemechek or Sammy Smith, and they had the best cars. But it was definitely, you could say, a classic. You'll never know who's going to win, and it's never over until it's over. And those are the races I feel like are the most entertaining. And, there was a lot of debate. You saw on social media, me and a couple of other people, we were discussing, was this race good or was it just, a joke? And everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's what I love about it. We agree to disagree. I thought this was phenomenal. Some people thought it was garbage. Some people love the New Atlanta. I'm not a big fan of the New Atlanta. Again, we can agree to disagree without hating on each other. It's okay to have different opinions on racetracks. I thought, like I said, Mid-Ohio kicked Atlanta's ass this weekend in terms of on-track entertainment. The Tide Ride, Parker Kligerman winning the truck race, that was probably one of the best underdog moments we've seen in the last decade. Because Henderson Motorsports, they really are a shoestring budget team. They don't have a lot of full-time guys. I mean, the team owner was the jack man on that 75 truck. So, man, that was good to see. But yeah, I would highly recommend this race to anyone who hasn't watched it. The full race, I believe, is uploaded to YouTube. Someone probably has uploaded it by now. Would strongly go back and watch this race. The point standings following this race, Raja, I believe, actually extended his points lead over Sanchez. It's now to 6. But with Daniel Dye finishing ahead of both of them, he did gain 1 point. Probably the only good part of Daniel Dye's weekend. His gap to Karuth is now down to 8. So our top 3 in the points are just by 8 points. It is so close, guys. And with the lowest ARCA field possible this season, being only 16 cars, that's enough positions to where something big can change. And I'm really excited to see what happens with the rest of the season. We got a lot of competitive racetracks. We still got the dirt tracks. We still got the Glen. So many opportunities for some of these other people to come in. There was even an article posted today. My friend Mark Christie, who works for Front Stretch, is it possible for Sammy Smith to win the championship? I think he's just too far behind. He would literally have to win every single race and have every one of these guys struggle. And I don't see Sammy Smith winning every race, especially, I don't see him doing that well on the dirt tracks. I don't see him maybe doing that well, at the Glen. He's a great road racer, but the Glen, I don't think he's ever been there. So, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, man? Who really does know? Tony Breidinger is still in fourth. She holds a 3-point lead over Greg Van Elst in fifth. Amber Balkin is in sixth, minus 71. And Brad Smith is down in seventh, minus 123. If you guys are curious, Sammy Smith is down in ninth, minus 164. And with these 50-point bonuses, guys, I just don't believe he has enough to get there. Will he get to probably fourth place? Yes. I do believe Sammy Smith will probably get to fourth place because if you subtract Tony's points to him, he's only 106 points behind Tony Breidinger. And I could believe that he would make up that many points. With this many races to go, I could easily see him making up that ground. I could still see Sammy getting a top 5 points finish. But will he win the championship? No. I don't see the top 3 in the championship running that poorly to have Sammy Smith win the championship. Now, that's not the same for the Owners' Championship. For the Owners' Championship right now, following this race, the Billy Venerini 20 car still holds the lead, but the KBM 18 car, I said this car was out of it. Boy, was I wrong. The KBM 18 entry is now up to second in the points, just 19 points behind the Billy Venerini 20 car. It is tied with the 6 of Max Siegel and Raja Caruth. The Bill Venerini 15 car is up to fourth, and the Max Siegel 2 car is in fifth. Murray Gallagher 43 car is in sixth. Kathy Venerini in the 25 are seventh. Greg Van Elst in the 35 are eighth. Mark Rett and the 30 are ninth. And Andy Hillenberg and the 11 are hanging on to 10th, 11th, and 12th. Alex Clubb is 13th. Brad Smith is 14th. Richmond Racing is 15th. And the final full-time entry this season, 16th, is the 0-1 for also Andy Hillenberg. So while Sammy Smith might not win the Drivers' Championship, full bore they're going after the Owners' Championship. But there also is a championship driver's title that Sammy Smith is going after, the Sioux Chief Showdown Championship, which Sammy Smith currently leads. Following the race 5 of the Sioux Chief Showdown Championship, Sammy Smith holds a very comfortable 18-point lead over Taylor Gray, a 19-point lead over Jesse Love, and a 27-point lead over Raja Caruth, and a 29-point lead over Daniel Dye. So right there, guys, that's another thing that Sammy Smith is going for. While he may not have a chance at the Drivers' Championship, there's the Sioux Chief Drivers' Championship and the actual ARCA Owners' Championship. So there's still 2 titles that KBM are going after this season in the main ARCA division. So yeah, and in terms of owner points as well, guys, the coveted top 20. Now, the top 20 are the teams who get paid out at the end of the season. You want to be in that top 20. And, well, I will announce it right here. The 06 of Peterson will be at Pocono. That is their home race for greatrailing.com. So they will be there. Probably not as a starting park. They will want to try to run that full race. They've only attempted 5 races. Excuse me there, guys. The top 19 have pretty much separated themselves from this because in 19th is the 23 of Stacy Holmes. They have 197 points, and Wayne Peterson is holding on to 20th at 126. That's over a 60-point gap. That ain't going to be made up. So the top 19 are safe for that bonus. But as for the 20th spot, that coveted last position, Wayne Peterson is holding on to it by just 10 points over the 7 of Eric Caudell and only 14 of the 44 of John Ferrier, who's with Andy Hillenberg as well. And the 81 car for Joe Gibbs, they are only 30 points behind. And we know that car is scheduled, I believe, is scheduled to run Pocono. So that 06 car could be in trouble. Peterson, obviously, the funding with Zachary Tinkle, unfortunately, is not there, unfortunately. So we don't know the future of the 06. But hopefully we get to see Uncle Wayne at as many races as possible because he's like family. And anytime the 06 is at a race, I'm happy. Of course, guys, the payouts for this race, go over it again. The winning team of the 17 of Taylor Gray accumulated $18,375. Second place, who was Parker Chase, they accumulated $9,700. And third place, Sammy Smith accumulated $6,400. Last place for starting the race, 24th, Brad Smith, not 24th, 23rd was the last person who started. That was $1,500 to Casey Carden. So, yeah, the payouts, again, not the best. But like I said, guys, it's nothing new. But definitely, like I said, a lot of points championships battles to watch out. It just goes to show you, and I'm not you know what? I'll stir the beans. It goes to show you, when you don't have a win and you're in playoff system and you have a natural points championship like this, it really shows just how entertaining it can be. These three guys will be going down to the wire in that last race at Toledo for this championship. And honestly, again, I cannot tell you who's going to win. We have tracks that support Sanchez over the other two. We have tracks that support Carruth over the other two. And we have tracks that support Dye over the other two. It'll be interesting to see. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it plays out. And, of course, I'll be here for every race. You guys know that. As for a lot of these underdogs, just got to keep trying. We did learn this week that the Thomason Club partnership, that ended, unfortunately. Rita broke her transmission in the race and put out a statement saying that she doesn't have enough funding to get it fixed before the end of the season. So they haven't parted ways. It's just going to basically be put on hold for now while Rita gets her car fixed. Meanwhile, they did put out a statement saying that, they want to continue running the car, running two cars. They do have a seat open at IRP in DuQuoin. Each race is $30,000 plus a crash clause. I hope those seats get filled because I want clubs, get as much possible, drivers and funding as he can because, he's just a working man trying to have fun in racing. And that's what I respect so much about him. Some other ARCA news, the 02 of Young's Motorsports, they are coming back to the ARCA series. They will be at Pocono with Chris Wright as well. I would expect that field to be pretty stacked. Is the truck series going to be there? Can anyone answer me that question? Will the truck series be there? Will it be all four series at once going to be there? Because it wouldn't shock me to see some truck drivers run the ARCA race like we've always seen. They think so. If the truck series is going to be there, I would definitely expect to see some truck guys running the ARCA race. Maybe an Xfinity guy running the ARCA race. I could see Riley Herbst running it. I do believe Brandon Jones is running it. That race is always usually a banger. The last couple years, the Pocono race, I don't know what it is about the ARCA package at Pocono, but that car just seems to put on a pretty good show at Pocono. It's always the car count, kind of like usual. It's the car count that always hurts the races. But if we can get at least 25 to 30 cars, I feel like that race will be very entertaining. Kind of like Charlotte. Charlotte didn't have the biggest car count, but still put on a very entertaining race. In terms of guys, that's pretty much it for news. The next ARCA race, we do not have one this weekend. There is no East race. There is no main race. There is no West race. Kind of a weird off weekend for ARCA. They will be back, of course. Next week, we will have our Pocono preview show. But no news for this weekend. The awards given out, we will look that up in a second if you guys want to stick with me for a second. The Reese's Sweet Move of the Race Award was given to the 15 of Parker Chase, who just narrowly avoided missing. I believe it was the 20 of Jesse Love. Narrowly avoid missing him, so that was good there. Zachary Tinkle in the chat saying that realistic might be around 30 cars for Pocono. And man, that I tell you, 2022 ARCA getting 30 cars anywhere is great. And I love to see that. And if we do get all 30 cars, definitely they would all be able to put on a good show. I know they would. Continuing on here, some more ARCA news is actually it's not ARCA news, but more NASCAR news. Might get out of the gate right there. Emerling Gase is actually going up to 2 cars. I just thought I'd share that real quick. And I do also want to share you guys. You guys have been great with me. I am doing another giveaway. When we get to 400 subs, we're only 43 away. So I want to let you guys know right now, we'll be doing some special hero card giveaways. We will have hero cards from the ARCA series, Truck series, Cup series, past and present. I'll throw in some special cards from my collection to one lucky subscriber. And basically when we hit 400, I'll do it live on one of my shows and we'll pick out a winner. It's that simple. Like, subscribe to the channel, and you are entered in to win. And one lucky subscriber will get 15 cards, 10, 15 cards to my collection. Do have a rumor in the chat. Is there any truth Matt Jaskell is running some ARCA races for Wayne Peterson? That would be awesome. I love Matt Jaskell. And Wayne's actually got some pretty decent equipment. But I don't know, Zachary Tinkle, have you heard anything like that? Matt Jaskell racing for Wayne Peterson. That would be one of the coolest partnerships ever. That really would. For the people who don't know who Matt Jaskell is, he is an awesome character. You mix him with Wayne Peterson with that kind of money, and Wayne's actually got a really good equipment, better equipment than people think he does. They could actually be a pretty competitive team. I'm not going to lie, guys. I really took a look at Wayne's equipment at Iowa. And, for a lot of the crap that Peterson Motorsports gets, when that team actually sets up the car to run the whole distance and are actually attempting the whole distance, those guys can go. Zachary Tinkle really has shown that this year. But those guys can really go with a good equipment. Trust me. Peterson has a better car than he's letting to believe. He just has never had a driver to really show it. I don't know any truth to that rumor. Yeah, same, Zachary. It's the first I've heard of that rumor, so I can't confirm anything to that person in the chat. But if that's true, awesome. If it's not true, awesome rumor. But yeah, so thank you guys for definitely tuning in with me tonight. You guys, again, have always been kind to this podcast. It's been a rough couple of days for me and my family, but I thank you guys enough for your continued support online and on here. Like I said, guys, 400 subscriber giveaway. Keep liking and subscribing. Keep liking and subscribing to the channel for that giveaway. And maybe you guys will be a lucky winner of some classic hero cards. And I hope you guys continue to support the channel. We have a content video coming out this Friday. I hope you guys look forward to that. It will be released Friday around 6 o'clock. So for any fans of this channel, be on your toes. 6 o'clock, I think Central Time, 6 o'clock Central Time this Friday, we will be releasing our next content video. And I'm excited, and I hope you guys enjoy that one just as much. And well, that's kind of it for my show, guys. I thank you to all who joined in on this Thursday. Usually we do this on a Wednesday, but thank you to all who joined in on this Thursday. You guys know the drill. Keep all up the good work, and I'll catch you guys all here next week with our Pocono preview and some other news and rumors. And yeah, you guys have a great weekend. We'll catch you all next time. And remember, keep starting, parking fun. I've been Colby Evans, signing off. So long, guys.